Hello and welcome to a special episode of Smash Accept Fantasy. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at DynastyDadFF. Joined as always is my co-host at FF Snoog. Today, what we're going to bring you guys is our biggest Dynasty risers after week one. And I know a lot of people say, Dad, why can somebody rise and not what you say not to make overreactions? And yes, that's true to a point, but we do need to make some reactions. And some of these guys, these 12 guys that Snoog and I are going to bring up, are guys that made absolute strides that their value should increase after week one. The first one is one that I was heavily criticized, where I was saying buy this player in the offseason because of suspension. Now we're looking at Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice, since week 12, has been 9+ targets in every single game, top 10 in wide receiver points per game, and an absolute target hog. Snook, he reminded me a lot of Michael Thomas as like that slant god across the middle there, tied to Patrick Mahomes. This is just an absolute screaming value. I've moved him from wide receiver 27 to I'm flirting with my top 12. I have him as Dynasty's wide receiver 15, worth a mid-first again. So I'm excited for Rashee Rice. You're excited for another guy in the same wide receiver room just to continue to rise in value.
Yeah, exactly. I love what you said about Rashee Rice. He's that Amon-Ra St. Brown for the Detroit Lions. He's that Michael Thomas. He's that explosive yak guy that's going to get all the slants, all the digs, all the underneath routes. When we talk about the explosive, electric speed threat that this team brought in the first round, a very solid, very good prospect, Xavier Worthy from Texas, one of the best true freshman breakout seasons ever at Texas Longhorns. I think Xavier Worthy, 2 touchdowns in his debut. He's not going to be a volume guy. He's going to be a guy that probably gets 6, 7, 8 targets at most when he really settles in here. But he's going to be a touchdown machine. I comped him very similar to that Jordan Addison rookie year for the Vikings, where he scored 10 touchdowns, 70 catches, 900+ yards. I think that's very safe for what Xavier Worthy is going to do this year, especially with the decline of Travis Kelce, although I still think he's fine. But just being that number 2, that number 3 offense in a passing game where you could see 5,000 yards from Mahomes and Andy Reid. So I think Xavier Worthy is going to be a guy that they utilize with that pre-snap motion and get him open deep, quite frankly, all the time downfield. And he's going to be very explosive. So I'm excited for him in this offense.
All offseason, we debated these two rookies. The answer is both. It's Brian Thomas Jr. and Xavier Worthy. Brian Thomas Jr. is now that alpha wide receiver in Jacksonville.
Yep.
Set it and forget it. Everybody was debating, talking about Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram. This is Brian Thomas Jr.'s offense now. This is going to be one of your biggest risers in Dynasty throughout the season. He had a great first week there. He's caught that touchdown pass. Just looks to be, as Trevor Lawrence starts to get a little bit more comfortable, as Trevor Lawrence continues to progress, I think Brian Thomas Jr. is someone that has arguably top 12 to 15 Dynasty wide receiver upside. I think he's just going to steadily move himself up the boards, move himself up in value. A guy that I am trying to make insulated trades to trade down from the top tier to getting down to Brian Thomas Jr. because I think he's really going to excel in 2024 and beyond. One more guy, man. We have 2 more wide receivers in this young group, and I kind of broke this Dynasty risers down, but there's 2 more wide receivers who balled out week one that we just can't ignore.
Yeah, Jayden Reed. He's the guy that I really liked coming out of Michigan State. I was super, super high on him as that second-round talent. I think he was my wide receiver 7 in my post-draft rankings and 10 in my pre-draft rankings before a lot of the hype rolled around. So he's a guy that I liked a lot, but I liked his teammate Dontavian Wicks better at cost. And that was the issue for me, was I have some Jayden Reed, but I have 18 shares of Dontavian Wicks. The good thing is they're completely different players, and they both have a role in this offense. And Jayden Reed's role is untouchable. It's nothing like what Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, and Dontavian Wicks are fighting over. It's that Deebo Samuel light. It's that Curtis Samuel on steroids. It's what we wanted Laviska Shenault to be. It's that deep playmaker that can make plays across the middle on those deep crossers, get the ball in his hands, end arounds. He's going to be a touchdown scoring machine, 10 touchdowns as a rookie. I see 8 to 10 touchdowns again this year. And he'll never be a 1,500-yard guy, but he'll probably be a 1,000-yard receiver. He's going to get 300 rushing yards. He's going to score a bunch of touchdowns, and he's going to be a part of an elite offense with Jordan Love leading the way. So definitely somebody that deserves to get bumped up the rankings.
Yeah, and I think the biggest criticism everybody had was that he is on the field less than Romeo Doubs and on the field less than Christian Watson, but he doesn't need as many touches. So they got manufactured touches. When he's in there, he takes care of business. You guys see Snoog zooming in there on the other side because this next guy is our guy that has risen the most in my dynasty rankings. Snoog, I put him up 30 spots after week 1, and that's crazy. But Jameson Williams came out, and we were just worried that he was going to be a decoy and that he was going to be better for fantasy or better for real life than he was fantasy. 9 targets in week 1, more than Amon-Ra St. Brown, 5 receptions, 121 yards with a touchdown, and 24.2 average yards per reception. Oh, yeah, and he added a 13-yard run to the equation. This is sheer explosiveness. I mean, Jameson Williams, if he's going to truly be used as the number 2, not just a decoy, Josh Reynolds last year was kind of in that number 2 role. Sam Laporta kind of took a little bit of backseat in this first week. And man, Jameson Williams balled out. This is kind of, if we continue to see this more from a boom bust percentage to a high level wide receiver that we saw at Alabama, I'm scared, man. Like, this is something where you go from, if you bought him for seconds in the offseason, you feel great about it. I would take a shot on him right now, especially on a rebuilding team, that he continues this. And I think Jameson Williams' value just continues to rise. If he puts up points like this, Snoog, it won't be long until he's worth a first. I'm not paying it yet, but I'll pay a second plus some of these roster cloggers. I want to move into the next series here. And those were our 5 wide receivers. And what I really love about that, Snoog, is those are guys that in our Discord that we've been talking up. Those are guys that on our YouTube show, Dynasty Locks to Rise in Value, we had 4 of those 5 guys on there. I mean, like we nailed it with Rice and Worthy and Thomas and, and some of these other guys we're going to talk about. Now I want to talk about, 3 more guys that they're in that veteran because they're not rookies anymore, but 3 running backs that really, their stock skyrocketed. I mean, we're talking about moving up tiers. 2 of these guys, all 3 of these guys actually moved up an entire tier in both of our rankings.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley. He was my RB5 in redraft this year. He was my RB7 in Dynasty going into the season. I was expecting big things, but I was a little bit worried about maybe him getting as much receiving volume, being there with Jalen Hurts, a guy that doesn't check the ball down as frequently, and I was a little bit nervous about them just faltering a lot of his touchdowns. But 1,300, 1,400 yards rushing was always in the play. He's my Dynasty RB5 now. He is exactly what we wanted to see from Saquon Barkley. 3 touchdowns, 26 total touches in a tough matchup against Green Bay on a field that you can't run on. Like, the field was absolutely atrocious. So just to have that type of game, 33 fantasy points, RB1 on the week, utilized in the passing game. We saw that wheel route that was designed. They're going to utilize the strengths with Saquon Barkley. He's going to be a guy that's a touchdown a week guaranteed. He's going to put up 80 to 100 rushing yards a game. He's going to be absolutely insane, and I would just hope and love to see him get 40, 50, 60 passes because he's one of the best pass catchers from a pure talent perspective in the NFL. So Saquon Barkley, he's back. He's ready to go. He's not on the worst offense in the league anymore. He's now on one of the best. Fire him up for the rest of the year as a top 5 running back and in Dynasty, and he has RB1 overall upside.
Yeah, and that was something in April we were talking about, coming off McCaffrey to Saquon plus a mid first. I got that trade done, insulated 3 different times, and I think that's what we're really trying to do. Another guy that I'm trying to insulate now, I'm trying to tear off of Jonathan Taylor. I'm trying to tear off of Christian McCaffrey to this guy. It's Kenneth Walker III. His RB1 season is here. He is the clear lead back in an improved Seattle offense. I know they played Denver week 1, but this offense feels a little bit different. 20 carries, 108 yards. He got the touchdown, 2 receptions. Charbonnet, he still had 10 touches, but he only did 41 yards combined in those. And I think he's more of just that handcuff, that insurance running back that you want to put on the back end of your roster. But this is Kenneth Walker's offense. I think this is a guy that could see 15-plus touchdowns, the guy that you and I loved coming out as a rookie and then just didn't get utilized properly. New coaching staff is going to utilize him. Kenneth Walker, you and I have both moved inside our top 10 dynasty running backs, up a tier from where he was before. And there's one other guy. You and I both moved up an entire tier, and I know he's a little banged up, but this seems like a sure lock of someone that, if healthy, will be the RB1 overall.
Yeah, I love that you highlighted on Kenneth Walker. He got a touchdown removed. I'm still mad about that. That was $105 out of my pocket because he had 2 touchdowns in that game. But Devon Achane, I think Devon Achane, we saw him finally utilized as a receiver. Yep. We knew he was an elite pass catching back. That was the concern last year. 7 receptions, 7 targets, a ton of designed pass catching opportunities for him. There was screens, there was motion, there was a lot of things where he was the read, and that's what we wanted to see, right? We know he's going to get a couple organic checkdowns from Tua. This guy has the potential to lead the league in touchdowns. I mean, his teammate Raheem Mostert did last year. He's on an elite top 10 scoring offense. He's an elite talent, hyper efficient runner. Didn't show it in week 1, but it was a tough matchup there. It's just weird week one numbers. But Devon Achane, I mean, we've been preaching it all off season. He was one of our guys, like the few that we've highlighted already, just to absolutely pound the drum on in that second round in redrafts. And for a lot of those casual redraft leagues, he was flipping into the third round. So I know I helped out a few people with their drafts, and I got him in the third round for them. He was an absolute pound the drum talent, and he's going to pay off this year. He's going to have a top 5 season.
So my work league, I took him in the 4th round, and they just laughed. They're like, that guy's always injured. Not going to happen. All right, hey, before I talk about who the new Dynasty tight end 1 is going to be, I got to tell you guys, make sure you guys check out the Patreon Discord chat. Right now, things are blowing up as cheap as $5 a month. You get access to both Snoog and I, both of our DMs. There's guys in there, almost 400 people talking shop 24/7. And now, Snoog, it just came in the mail yesterday from Pristine Auction, a DJ Moore signed autograph jersey. So we're going to be giving that away. All you got to do is on Twitter at #SmashMoreSeptember. Go in there, put just a screenshot that you subscribe to the page. You will be entered to win the jersey. I can't wait to give it away. We gave away a Garrett Wilson jersey last year. We're going to be doing a DK Metcalf jersey a little bit later. So it's the best place to get all of our access to our weekly rankings, our dynasty rankings, pretty much everything dynasty and redraft all in one spot that you guys are going to need before we tell you that Brock Bowers is going to be the dynasty tight end 1 within the first 8 weeks of the season. You saw what he did week 1. He 68% snap share, only 40 snaps, led the team in targets over Devontae Adams with 8 targets, 58 receptions, or 58 receiving yards. 58 receptions would be filthy, and 6 receptions. You start to put that together, Snoog. I mean, you take 6 receptions per game. That's 93 if we can do that. You know what I mean? Like, Brock Bowers is going to break the internet. He's going to pass Trey McBride. He's going to pass Sam Laporta. And you're on that last leg here where you can trade McBride, Laporta for Brock Bowers plus. It's not going to happen for very much longer. Try it. Kick the tires out there, especially. We were saying Laporta in a second for Bowers in a first. At this point, you might only get a second, but Bowers is going to pass them both, and I absolutely love him going forward. Now the fun part, right, is these guys that you and I have been saying since February, say, buy this guy, buy this guy, buy this guy. And these guys that have ascended in value, these veterans, now move up, right? Like all offseason, you were able to buy these 4 players. You were able to buy them for a second-round pick, early, whether it's early to mid. I was buying them everywhere. You were buying them everywhere. Now let's talk about these guys. The first guy for you, I mean, we all know you love Alvin Kamara, but he was supposed to fall off this year, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been hearing that for the past 8 years now. Isn't Taysom Hill supposed to dominate all the red zone opportunities, and Kamara's just going to get a regress in receptions just because they got a new offensive coordinator? No. Clint Kubiak is there for the better. They used the first most pre-snap motions in the league this year so far in week 1. Alvin Kamara looked like vintage Alvin Kamara. Tons of designed passing plays to him, 5 receptions, 20 touches. They were giving him the ball in the red zone, and that's what you want to do. You want to give your best playmakers on offense the ball in the red zone. He's magical when he gets the ball down there. I mean, he's a touchdown scorer machine. We got to see that more. Yes, there's still going to be a little bit of Taysom Hill, I'm sure. We just need to see more Alvin Kamara because the Saints are the best when Alvin Kamara is operating as their number 1 guy. 22 fantasy points, top 10 running back the rest of the way. I think there's a chance that he still leads the league in receptions at the running back position. It's not likely, but he's one of the guys that's going to do it. Like, he's going to be in the top 5 for sure. And if he can get 6, 8, 9 touchdowns, 10 touchdowns this year total, he's going to finish top 5 to 10 again. And it happens year after year after year. Alvin Kamara, newsflash, still elite.
Yeah, the one guy that is going to have a major argument about those receptions is Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp, 21 targets week 1, 13 receptions, 105 yards, and a touchdown. Puka Nacua went down to injury. It was the same knee he was having problems with in camp. If Puka Nacua struggles to be on the field, Cooper Kupp could absolutely just obliterate the reception record. Like, this looks like vintage 2021 Cooper Kupp all over again. Stafford just locked onto him, and it's like no matter what the defense could do, they couldn't stop him. Cooper Kupp is someone that, we were looking at. You could buy him for a pair of seconds in the offseason. You and I were talking about it now. He's going to cost you a first, but if you're an all-in contender, I don't mind paying the 112 for Cooper Kupp. If you're starting Terry McLaurin or Deontay Johnson or, a guy that might not click right away, you add Cooper Kupp into that lineup with that late first of 2025 or Snook. I think you could even do it for 2026. And I'm going to kick the tires in all my leagues, trying to trade that 26 first, try to get Cooper Kupp, get his services
League
because
winner.
he's going to kill it this year.
Yeah, he's a league winner. The next guy I'm going to jump into, if you're in the Smash Accept Discord, if you've been following me and Dad on Dynasty Twitter, you know for the past year and a half that we've been absolutely pounding the drum for Alvin Kamara and Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon joined the new elite offense, top 5 scoring offense projected. He's a workhorse running back. He showed that in week 1. He still got his burst. He looks like prime vintage Oklahoma Joe Mixon coming out of college. I mean, this is a guy that had 33 touches, 178 total yards, scored a touchdown. He's going to be a guy that's a touchdown a week, right? He's going to get the ball into the red zone. The Texans struggled. They were 4th in yards per carry, 4th to last in yards per carry last year at the run game. They brought in Joe Mixon. They gave him the bag. They're going to utilize him as much as they can because the run game gets that passing game ready to go. And Joe Mixon's a guy that just had 27 fantasy points in week 1, top 10 to 12 running back the rest of the way, and he's pretty much guaranteed and penciled in for a touchdown a week and a couple of receptions on top. So I like him over a lot of those other guys, like those Rashad Whites, those James Cooks, those guys that just aren't good at football that are in the starting role. Take Joe Mixon, take Alvin Kamara 10 times out of 10.
And that's our 12 dynasty risers. There's a lot of other guys in that veteran area. Your James Conner, Aaron Jones, Chris Godwin, a lot of guys that just creeping up on those values. You could even argue, Keon Coleman had a real nice week 1. So we're going to continue to bring these YouTube shorts. This is YouTube exclusive content. So make sure you hit that smash subscribe button. Make sure you guys enter for that DJ Moore. And guys, join the Patreon today. Honestly, $5, we will do a money back guarantee. If you don't like it in the first week, here's your money back. That's it. Come in, check it out. It's worth it just for the start sits, for the weekly rankings, for all the amount of time. There are literally, I counted it yesterday, and there were like 450 total messages in that group. Like the group chat, it's broke into different areas, but our group chat alone, those guys were just talking shop nonstop. And we're talking about sharp minds outside just Snoog and I. So we thank you guys for tuning in and enjoy the process. If I could hit the end stream button, I can't. We'll take that out of there.